So I'm in London, and there's been a lot of rain just going on just now. So if you hear a lot of noises due to rains and the thunderstorms and stuff like that, it's kind of normal. It's just because it's been raining a lot this afternoon. Thank God for the rain, as they say. Okay, let's get cracking. We are live on YouTube as well, I see. So let's get going. Okay, so the first point that I wanted to address today is what's going on in the gaming and esports industry at the moment. Well, the gaming industry has grown from a market valued at $198.40 billion last year in 2021, and we expect it to grow to reach a value of $339 and 95 billion dollars by 2027. So that would be a compound annual growth rate of around 10% over 2022 to 2027. So pretty impressive. Nice margins, as they say. And so in addition, so this year, because a lot of people are no longer in lockdowns, there's been, in 2022, there's been a bit of a slurp, like a slowdown in the activity of gaming and esports, because people want to go back to socializing in person. They want to be able to go and do sports or social events. So in 2022, there's been a little bit of a slowdown, but all analysts are banking on the fact that the gaming industry is, as I said, going to grow on average 10% year on year up until 2027. And in fact, quite a lot of large big tech companies are definitely banking on that and betting on this. And for example, Microsoft, the software and hardware giant, has acquired in 2021 the American video game holding company called Activision Blizzard for $75 billion. I read 2 days ago that actually this acquisition is subject to review from the competition authority in the US, but I doubt that is not going to go through. So yeah, Activision Blizzard, one of the biggest gaming company, is being acquired by Microsoft. And before that, Microsoft had actually bought a game from Activision Blizzard, which is Minecraft, very famous game called Minecraft, for $2.5 billion. So Microsoft is doing this. Meta, the parent company of Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp, is also heavily investing into gaming. And right now it plans to monetize Horizon Worlds, which is its metaverse platform, NFT store and software marketplace. So it's called Horizon Worlds. And Meta wants to actually monetize it with an aggressive 47.5% commission rate on all in-app purchases. So if you are a third-party app retailer and you want to sell your app through Facebook and Meta's platform Horizon Worlds, well, you have to share the profit with them 47.5%. They'll take a cut of 47.5%. Monstrous, enormous. So the margins are great. So that's why big tech is definitely investing in that as well, because the margins are just monstrous. And then another big tech media company which is investing in gaming is Netflix. Netflix has actually made this interesting acquisition of a Finnish mobile games developer and studio focused on creating titles based on intellectual properties as the and The Walking Dead into. So this Finnish mobile games and actually pay $2 million. So I understand the games of net games being is only used by 1 or 2% of Netflix users, but in the future, the more they're going to create games which are streamed on Netflix, the more Netflix customers are also going to get into these games. So massive growth, compounded in annual growth rate of 10% per year from now until 2030 or something. Big margins, lots of big tech investing in gaming. But what's it all about? Well, today so basically the advances in cloud technology have allowed game developers to rewrite code for different types of consoles and platforms such as PlayStation, Xbox, and Windows PC in order to incorporate such codes into a standalone product provided to gamers through a cloud platform. So gaming is also becoming way more democratized and easy to use and less expensive, because you don't have to buy, the expensive hardware from PlayStation or Xbox or to play such and such game. Now everything is on the cloud, and you just have to open a web page, and you can actually play your game from there. So at max, you'll just have to invest into a sort of gamer's mouse, or also perhaps a gamer's keypad, and that's about it. And off you go, you start playing. So the hardware installation, the hardware expensive to start being a proper gamer are also getting minimal, because this cloud technology is really allowing more and more people to get onto the gaming world and on board the gaming world without paying too much money for it. And also what is great with the cloud technology, it means that you can actually play in network with your gaming mates based in America, in France, in Africa, in Asia, all at the same time, because everything is linked, for these networks, because it's all on the cloud. And so this is what is really great, that this online video gaming platform, great game creation systems such as Roblox and Fortnite, they allow gamers to play together in networks wherever they are based in the world. And gamers can even play games live to an audience. And yes, there is an audience for this. Lots of people are interested in watching gamers playing their games, and they just go on popular video game live streaming platforms such as YouTube Play and Twitch. And these audience members, they just watch like super great gamers playing the games. So this fosters and creates entire streaming communities of gamers and viewers who are built via these streaming communities, who interact together via chats, via micro-delivered messages on the platforms, via social media, etc., etc. So that's also why big tech is really interested in investing in the gaming sector, because they know that there's going to be a sort of domino effect. More software is going to be used by the gamers and the viewers of the gamers. then it's going to have a positive effect on social media, then it's going to have a positive effect on e-commerce, because then they will want, the gamers will want to buy, you know, the great NFTs and non-fungible tokens, NFTs, or they will want to buy also accessories for their gaming avatars. And so, you know, it's just like a ball rolling. The ability, the potential income streams is the potential of income stream is endless, because you can make money from social media, from the software, from the hardware, from the e-commerce sale, and etc., etc. So in 2015, there was a reported community of 1.99 billion people who were considered to be active gamers, 1.99 billion people in 2015. And this number has grown and has reached 2.96 billion in 2021 worldwide. So as I said before, due to the end of the lockdowns and when we are now in a pre-pandemic world, so perhaps it has stayed at this level of 2.96 billion in 2022, but I think it's, you know, it's just almost certain that growth is going to resume. The more great games are going to be launched in the market, okay? And at the moment, a lot of IP and investment are being poured to create even better games and an even more exciting community, as I'm going to explain now. So, yeah, so this year in 2022, there's an expectation that the number of people who play digital games, whether via console or computer or mobile device, is going to go beyond 3 billion people. Personally, I don't play games because I think it's quite addictive, and I'm not particularly interested in addiction, but, you know, I may come to it one of these days, you know, if I watch a film, a series which has great characters in there, and then a game and a world is created with those characters, it's possible that even me, and at my age and stuff, and with my gender, I might be at some point interested. I don't really start at all. So, okay, so that is what is happening in the gaming industry at the moment in terms of latest advances and trends in relation to esports and virtual sports. So these advances matter because every game developer, tech company sees this as a money generating machine. So what is the current state of play with respect to resolving disputes in the esports and virtual sports sector and in the gaming industry in general? Okay. So now we are introducing this concept of esports and virtual sports. So let's define this in a more precise manner, so that everybody is on the same page. Well, so within the gaming sector, there is a type and genre of games which is going from strength to strength, which is called sports games, also called esports. So the E for esports comes from economic rather than electronic. And as a publisher, a game publisher, rewrites the rules of its games, supplies the essential technology, and ultimately decides on the existence of a sport as a whole. So that's why it's called esports, so economic sports. So sports games, to a degree, are self-defining. So they include games such as MLB The Show, which focuses on baseball. So that's for our North American audiences. We also have another sports game called the Madden series, which relates to American football. And of course, there's FIFA Online, which relates to what us Europeans call football, or in North America, you would call soccer. And FIFA, I think, is probably one of the most famous worldwide, FIFA Online. And so as competitive video games continue to integrate into popular culture, global investors, consumer brands, media outlets, and consumers are all paying attention to the rising popularity of esports. And so in this year, there will be 29.6 million monthly esports viewers in the USA, for example, up 11.5% from 2021. So this is also pushed by the fact that esports are championed by mainstream celebrities and early esports investors also, such as Michael Jordan, who has invested in Team Liquid's parent company, for example. Also Drake. Drake is a champion of esports, and what is he doing, Drake? Yeah, he's basically, investing an undisclosed amount of money in the sports organization 100 Thieves. So yeah, he became with Scooter Brown. He's the Hollywood manager, represents stars like Justin Bieber and Ariana Grande. So he became with Scooter Brown co-owner of 100 Thieves, which has fields esports team that compete in games like Call of Duty and League of Legends. So yeah, so this is actually a thing which is quite interesting in the esports sector, which is that basically there are some companies such as FaZe Clan, for example, or as I just mentioned just now, 100 Thieves, which basically band together teams of esporters, so esports athletes, digital athletes, and then they would just manage them like they would manage a team of F1 athletes or footballers, you see? So hence the drawing that I made for the article that I published on called Gaming, Esports and Dispute Resolution, A Brave New World, because this is just basically showing a team of esporters who apparently are sponsored by Red Bull, and they are playing together in front of screens and probably just all working. These guys are professionals, so it's work. They're all working towards winning as a team a game, probably on Call of Duty or FIFA or etc. So this is why esports is so popular, because it really is like the game but played virtually, and therefore it fosters even more this community and this spirit of competitiveness that one usually finds in the sports. Now retranscribed in virtual through esports and virtual sports. So what are virtual sports, by the way? Well, virtual sports are sports which require an element of physical in the physical world. So for an example of virtual sport is through the cycling game company called Zwift, ZWIFT, and they create these bikes, which are physical bikes which exist in the real world, and then they are going to link those bikes to their game, their Zwift game, and therefore there will be a simulation of a race on the Zwift software, which will happen while every player will be actually on his or her bike in his or her premises, like home or office or whatever, and they will be biking, they will be cycling their bikes from the particular locations to play the game, to play into the competition, and therefore they will be monitored through the data collected by the Zwift bicycles that they have at their homes or premises, and this will be retranscribed to the software. So this is what virtual sports is, as opposed to esports, which is usually played with a gaming console, like a gaming and with your hands, so to speak, for the moment. So other type of virtual sports are, there's been a collaboration, for example, in relation to virtual sports between the Fédération Internationale de l'Automobile, so the car international federation, Fédération Internationale d'Automobile, and Gran Turismo, the game about racing called Gran Turismo from Polyphony Digital. And so, yes, so this is the difference between esports and virtual sports, and they are definitely increasing a lot. There's currently an increase as well in this particular competitive subsector of the gaming industry, which is esports as well as virtual sports. And so, in relation to now that we've clarified the definition of esports and virtual sports, what is the current state of play with respect to resolving disputes in the esports and virtual sports sector and in the gaming industry in general? Okay, so first and foremost, we have to remember the dispute resolution process which applies for sports disputes, okay? So, as some of you may be aware, the sports dispute resolution system is actually really quite well developed, and it developed in parallel with the Olympic Committee efforts to create the Olympic Games, which were launched by the Frenchman Pierre de Coubertin a long time ago. I can't exactly remember when. But in parallel to the Olympic Committee, le Comité Olympique, launched by Pierre de Coubertin, there was a necessity as well to develop a way to resolve disputes in relation to doping, in relation to disciplinary issues, in relation to breach of rules, etc., etc. So in the physical sports establishment reality, the International Olympic Committee established in 1984 the Court of Arbitration for Sports, CAS, Tribunal International du Sport, which is based in Switzerland, in Neuchâtel, if I remember well. And it is actually, as far as sports arbitration and dispute resolution in the sports world is concerned, all these disputes are being looked at by the various courts and institutions of neutrals, arbitrators from the Court of Arbitration for Sports, CAS, okay, which was, as I said, set up by the International Olympic Committee in 1984. So just to remind you a few cases which made the news recently, there was a decision handed down by an arbitral sentence handed down by CAS, by this Court of Arbitration for Sports, in relation to Caster Semenya, the athlete who basically contested the decision made by the Olympic Committee for her not to compete in the Olympic Games, quite recently, I think the ones in Japan and the one before that, because her level of testosterone is too high compared to what the Olympic Committee wants to find in female athletes who compete as females, okay? So Caster Semenya, I understand, has got female sexual organs, but apparently a level of testosterone, normal level of testosterone in her body, is much higher than the one a female athlete would have. I think she was just born this way, but it is what it is. So according to the International Olympic Committee, this means that it is not possible for her to compete as a female with other female athletes. And since she can't compete with males in the male competition, it means that she can't compete at all. So Caster Semenya, being a great and extremely talented athlete, she, of course, escalated her dispute to CAS, which actually I think handed down a decision in not in her favor. I will, in due course, also write an article and do some research about that, but one step at a time. So this is an example of one recent sports arbitration decision that was dealt with by CAS. Okay, so now we know that for sports disputes relating to disciplinary issues, doping, contractual issues, also contractual issue with sponsors, with teams, with managers, that goes to CAS in Neuchâtel, in Switzerland. But what happens with esports and virtual sports? Well, that's one of the areas that I have been looking at in my recent article published last week, on which I sent out a newsletter, and that you can read should you decide to become a subscriber to our annual plan. You can find this on the website. And for the moment, the esports and virtual sports sector are have their disputes managed through commercial arbitration. So as opposed to having the sports arbitration bodies such as CAS looking at any disputes in the esports or virtual sports sector, for the moment, it's actually commercial arbitration institutions that manage those disputes. So as an example, I mentioned Activision Blizzard earlier because it's being bought by Microsoft for the hefty fee of $72 billion, if I remember well. Well, Activision has got a very famous game, Activision Blizzard, and whenever there is an issue with its esports athletes or their handlers, Activision Blizzard says, okay, we're going to apply the terms of the Blizzard International Dispute Resolution Policy, which you actually signed up to. You decided for, and in this Blizzard Entertainment Dispute Resolution Policy, the institution which administers arbitration procedures on behalf of Activision Blizzard is JAMS. Okay, JAMS is one of the two top North American arbitration institutions with AAA, and JAMS is actually administering arbitration procedures throughout the world on behalf of Activision Blizzard. Okay. Lots of neutrals at JAMS are ex-judges from the US. Not only, but a lot of them are. I still haven't accepted me as a neutral yet, and I am very annoyed, and I made it clear to them. But anyway, one thing at a time, and I'm sure one day I will also become a JAMS arbitrator. But having said that, Activision Blizzard is the JAMS is the arbitration institution that looks after all the arbitration issues, dispute resolution issues that Activision Blizzard has. And what is quite interesting is that in terms of its disputes, you could have some disputes relating, for example, to doping or digital doping. So what do I mean by that? Well, there's been a case recently relating to digital doping, which I would like to mention. So it's very difficult to prove digital doping because due to its sophistication. However, in certain instances, the case of digital doping is just so blatant, so obvious that developers can only swiftly and strongly, start a dispute resolution procedure with the with the doping players. So there's been, during the first edition of the British Cycling Zwift e-racing championships, so I mentioned earlier that Zwift was this company which was creating all these e-bikes, these bikes which are linked to software, and then you can actually petitions while you are biking on home, or or whatever, wherever you've got your bike stored, and at the same time you compete online with other players who are around the world. Okay, so this is managed by Zwift, and Zwift has actually partnered up with the British Association of Cyclists, and they have created this British Cycling Zwift e-racing championships. And during the first edition of these championships, the winner, Cameron Jeffers, used an algorithm to record inconceivable performances on his connected bike. That's it. That's what it's called, a connected bike, Zwift connected bike. And Cameron led the game to believe that he could pedal more than 200 kilometers per day. Okay. In his best days, pre-cancer, I suppose, Lance Armstrong, the top cyclist in the world, at the peak of his career, pedaled 177 kilometers per day. And Cameron Jeffers, with his crazy algorithm, pretended that he could actually pedal 200 kilometers per day. And that gave Jeffers an advantage, a way to unlock the use of a better virtual bike from Zwift. Okay, so Jeffers just manipulated the software like this through this algorithm. And so that's how he became a winner of the first series of British Cyclist Zwift e-racing championships. So that matter went to arbitration, because obviously it was pretty blatant that Jeffers could not pedal 200 kilometers per day. And British Cycling actually ruled that Jeffers would be banned for manipulation of pre-race data to gain an unfair advantage via in-game equipment. And he only got a 6-month suspension and a fine of £250 sterling, which is around 280 euros, which is nothing. And it really is nothing, because I compare this with another case where there was also a disciplinary dispute, which as I explained before, is usually managed through gaming publishers using auto-regulation, or as well as these arbitration institutions. And Tencent is the Chinese company, which is it's a behemoth. Tencent is a Chinese behemoth in telecommunications, and among one of their assets, they have this game developer called Riot Games, famous game developer. Okay, which is basically, by the way, an American company, but they acquired it, and so Riot Games now belongs to Tencent. So it's sort of Chinese rules, ruling communist pretty strong and tough. And Riot Games, has got this really famous game called Leagues of Legends, and in the end user license agreement, Riot Games provides that any doping or disciplinary or contract breach issue is to be dealt with by the online dispute resolution from the European Union, which is in place for EU members, and the Singapore International Arbitration Committee for Southeast Asia, and JAMS that I mentioned for the rest of the world, except in Brazil. Okay, so in 2021, Riot Games, owned by Chinese Tencent, actually enforced its disciplinary rules by permanently banning, not buying, Vietnamese professional esports player Min Loc from its League of Legends, following some comments deemed offensive about COVID-19 made by Min Loc during a stream. So I think that Minlock more or less said, oh, well, that's quite good, actually, that quite a lot of players on League of Legends have got COVID, because then it means that it's easier for me to win. Something along those lines, I think. And then it was permanently banned from League of, as well as any other games from Riot Games, by Riot Games and its parent company, Tencent. So, yeah, I think Jeffers got off the hook very lightly with his £250 fine, further to the to his digital doping on the British Cycling Zwift e-racing championships. So coming back to my original point, which was, what is the current state of play with respect to resolving disputes in the esports and virtual sports sectors and in the gaming industry in general? Well, at the moment, and unlike physical games, the disputes are being managed and decided by auto-regulation, and also by referring to the terms of the end user license agreements that any gamers has to sign before being able to play the game, over esports, over virtual sports, and these means of resolution are through commercial arbitration, which are managed by these various bodies that I mentioned. So either the CIAC in Singapore, or JAMS for the US, North America, the rest of the world, or the online dispute resolution system if the gamer is based in the European Union, or also I've seen, the Hong Kong International Arbitration as well for some games, such as Fortnite. I think Fortnite, uses HKIC for to resolve contractual disputes with esports athletes and their eventual handlers. So there is the Olympic Committee has started to actually speak to the sports federations around the world by saying, guys, you need now to think about how your how the virtual or software versions of your sports are going to be managed in terms of dispute resolution process. The Olympic Committee is saying maybe now is the time to actually think of possibilities for future cooperation and engagement in relation to esports, instead of thinking that sports and Olympic Games are completely different from esports and virtual sports. Perhaps now is the time to actually work together. That's what the International Olympic Committee has started to say to the sports federations, in particular during a 2018 esports forum, which was attended by 150 representatives from the esports and gaming industry, the players, the publishers, the sponsors, as well as some sports athletes and other members. So, yeah, the IOC is encouraging sports federations to consider how to govern electric and virtual forms of sports and explore opportunities with gaming publishers. Why? Because they want the control over that. They want to have also vested interest into these virtual forms of sport, because there's a lot here. And so that's why, in terms of the future of alternative dispute resolution in the esports and virtual sports, now it perhaps is maybe time to think of creating a specialized panel of esports arbitrators in institutions such as JAMS, ICC, CIAC, and HKIAC, since in any case they are already usually designated through the end user license agreements of the gaming companies as the arbitration institutions looking after the gaming and esports dispute. Maybe it would be time now to actually create some specialized panels of esports arbitrators who specialize in dealing with this kind of disputes. Another potential avenue of creating more sophisticated alternative dispute resolution process of esports and virtual sports disputes could be to create a new arbitral institution for esports, conducting fully virtual proceedings based on the CAS, on the Court of Arbitration for Sports ad hoc division model. That could be another alternative, another avenue. So time will tell how the dispute resolution process of virtual sports and esports disputes will evolve. And what we already know is that arbitration of esports and virtual sports is bound to grow exponentially in synergy with developments such as dispute resolution in the metaverse and in relation to cryptocurrencies as well. That's it for me on this topic. So sorry, Joe, I just saw your message that you wanted to join. If you have any questions, do let me know. I'm going to have a look at our live stream on YouTube. If you want to ask a question, go for it. You just can unmute yourself and ask your question. Okay, so on YouTube, we have Enzo. Sorry, Enzo, who is asking, I've been banned from playing on the Fortnite games because of some comments that I made during a Twitch streamed playing gaming session. What can I do? Well, if it's your if it's more than a hobby, if it's like your job to be an esporter, a gamer, I think that indeed being banned from Fortnite, which has 3 or 4 esports games which are top of the range in terms of esports and virtual sports games, is not an option for you, Enzo. So of course you must react, and I think that it's best if you send us at Crefovi, our law firm Crefovi, an email, which we will of course treat confidentially, and explain to us the facts as to why you've been banned from playing the Fortnite games, what was the circumstances, whether you signed the end user license agreement from Fortnite, and we can double check, you know, whether if Fortnite followed the due process in terms of taking this decision, before taking this decision of you, and also we can see whether there's any remedy to and that we could potentially try to implement here for you to resume your activity as a professional esporter. If you are if playing and gaming is only a hobby for you, maybe you should move on to some other games with some other, you know, if you have to appoint an instructor lawyer on this matter with Fortnite, it's going to cost you some legal fees. So you have to actually, you know, weigh in as to whether it's worth spending some money on legal fees to actually defend your right to be playing as an esporter on Fortnite, which there would be more rational for in case you were a professional esporter. If it's only your hobby, if you're an amateur gamer, maybe the best would be for you to move on to another game with some other gaming publishers. Okay, guys, thank you very much for your presence and your support. And if you want more information, more in-depth information, again, as I said, do have a look at our article on gaming, esports, and dispute resolution, A Brave New World. Bye for now.